Bam! This is the funnest time to be a football card collector and investor. Andy, you always with me each and every week, and we both get this tingling feeling inside of our bodies when the hype cycle is at an all-time high. Now, a little bit later, Andy's got a hobby tip of the week that I feel is very important when it comes to receiving cards. But once again, Andy, I know you feel it. I felt the energy when you jumped in the studio today about the hype cycle. Let's go, Andy. Draft week. Let's go.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. So many of my football cards on eBay have watchers and getting offers. And like I'm tracking the card prices over on vintagecardprices.com, but they're tracking all the graded football card sales. And like looking at the top 25 sales from this past week, you've got people reaching on Jamar Chase rated rookies, still with the new product waiting in the wings. Like people are reaching on base cards of more elite players, just because I think that from what I've seen, there's fewer listings right now in the marketplace, fewer listings, man. So hype is in turn, like the demand is at an all-time high heading into the draft. And we just got a lower supply. So this is create like this big storm of elevated prices for a lot of guys.
So, in other words, Andy, if you are sitting where you are right now, especially with the new release calendar having another setback, right? I would seriously consider selling some very base stuff because number one, everybody's happy, everyone's buying cards, everyone's looking forward to the draft. They're in a good mood. People that are buying cards are feeling good about their team this week. You shouldn't if you're a Jaguars fan. I'm just saying. Uh, and that's evergreen from now until the end of time. But Andy, I do think we do tell people when we think it's a good time to buy. I think right now, Andy, it's also a very good time to sell.
Yeah, you gotta dig really deep. Like there are some buys out there. You just got to really dig deep. You got to really grind through, and probably you're targeting like super deep sleepers. And
Yeah.
what's so interesting is all these balls are going to be thrown back up in the air once the draft unfolds. Because you take the Green Bay Packers for a prime example. Guys like Alan Lazard, Sammy Watkins are seeing a lot of hype. They're seeing a lot of sold transactions on their cards on eBay, but it's like Green Bay has got 2 picks at the end of the first round. They've got draft capital in the second. It's like there is a 0% chance they don't come out of this draft with a premium wide receiver talent.
I totally agree with that. So what I would do right now is let's take someone like Marquez Valdez-Scantling or anyone along those lines. I think a lot of contenders are going to be drafting receivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the wide receiver market being the way that it is, and wide receivers are so expensive right now, and the fact that this is a really good wide receiver draft class. I would look at selling a bunch of those wide receivers that go to a new situation and they're with a better quarterback, but in actuality, they're tier 2, tier 3 guys. So I would look into doing that. Andy, also, I've got to say this. There's one wide receiver in this draft that I like a lot, and I'm going to be buying some of his college uniform product. I'm going to tell you about that at the end of this pod. But it is very important to keep in mind that I think a guy like Aaron Rodgers could get a lot out of this draft when it comes to wide receivers. So there's so much that's going to change. It's very important, Andy, if you are a card buyer or investor, whatever word you want to use, to keep in mind that draft position does heavily influence not only the player themselves, but the players that are already on the current roster.
Yeah, getting more opportunity in the current roster based on the draft capital that they spend on them. Also, it's really important to, talking about draft position in terms of the actual NFL draft, but then we talk about like fantasy draft position. I just did a video on this yesterday, Carter. You look at Aaron Rodgers right now. If they draft Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, one of these elite wide receiver talents, Treylon Burks from the draft, You got to think that Aaron Rodgers' position is going to go up. His stock is going to go up throughout the summer. The same thing with like Zach Wilson, who is a second-year player. So we're looking for these guys to take the next big step. And, the chances are if they draft a really good wide receiver talent in this draft, then their draft position is going to go up. People are going to start getting more excited about them, start taking them earlier and earlier in fantasy drafts, which also means they're going to be parlaying that with football card investing.
Yeah, Andy, we're going to touch on this really quickly as far as the new release calendar, okay? It has been set back again, okay? So if you are listening to this a year from now, just fast forward just a little bit because we want to touch on it because the setback does change a lot, Andy.
It absolutely does, man. And I can't believe, we got news just 2 weeks ago that Optic was going to be released at the beginning of May 11th. Prism was going to be released the same day. Select was May 18th. Now you've got National Treasures on May 4th. You've got Prism and Select on May 11th with 2022 Prism Collegiate Draft Picks on May 11th. So 3 major release products that are supposedly going into retail stores being released May 11th. And then Optic has been pushed back to June 3rd, Carter.
So once again, it changes week to week. So we won't spend too much time, but I want people, as always, to think of themselves not just as themselves, but as a sports card collector who might be a little interested in football, but they're also into basketball and baseball because guess what? Baseball season just started and everyone's spending a lot of money on Wander Franco cards. Basketball season's heating up and everybody is jumping on the Jason Tatum hype train and paying ridiculous prices for him, even though he has still yet to go to an NBA Finals. It's crazy how much is going on just in sports cards right now. And now you have a hype cycle here with this football NFL draft and the product being released. We have no idea, Andy, how the market is going to react to that. But Andy, you preach this all the time. And I see it in the Discord. I see it just everywhere. So much changes. And this month is going to be so different in terms of the market because of all those different variables.
Yeah, a lot change, and it's important to remember that for example, take 2021 Contenders, which was recently released. A lot of people are getting their hands on it now, which is nice, right? To be able to find product at retail prices, but turns out like the rookie ticket autos are hard to pull. It's hard to pull them. Their hit rate on those is probably 1 out of 20 boxes or something around that, because I've seen a countless amount of guys ripping Contenders blaster boxes and not getting a single rookie ticket auto. They'll get a lot of those like mem patch cards that, the player worn patch from like a rookie signing event where they had those 30 jerseys on. But the rookie ticket autos that we've seen players like at signing events signing like a pretty decent stack of those, but in comparison to how many retail stores stock this product nationwide and how many boxes are being sold, they're still fairly scarce, which, I think is important to kind of take that into consideration. Your hit rates on these super premium cards out of these products is still going to be pretty low.
Yeah. And remember, it's not just pro uniform cards, collegiate draft cards. So once again, if you are just brand new, what we're saying right now is very confusing. And I totally get it. I've been in your spot before, right? So basically, the last year's draft class. So obviously Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and those guys, a lot of their premium pro uniform stuff is being released over this next month. Okay. However, this current draft class, their premium college uniform cards are starting to come out, right? A new Topps product, which we'll get to in just a second. But obviously, Prism Draft Picks is its own thing where it is college uniform cards that are going to be released. And once again, I know I preach this all the time. College uniform stuff doesn't go for as much as pro uniform stuff. So it's very important to remember that. Now, Andy, it's nuts to me. Like all of this is happening with the NFL draft coming up here in a few days. What would be one tip you would say as far as all of this product being released and all of this market interaction that's going on, what would be one thing that you would tell people as far as their football card collecting and investing?
Yeah, as much as it pains me, I am buying very little right now. I have
Yeah.
guys reaching out to me like, "Who are you buying right now? What are you buying?" And I send it. It's like my purchases have slowed down dramatically just because I'm not finding the deals. They're getting harder and harder to find, especially on players that I want to invest in,
Yeah.
for the upcoming season. Plus, we got all these balls getting ready to be thrown in there with the draft. And players' average draft position, their stock is going to change, just like it does in fantasy. It's going to change in football cards throughout the summer. So right now I'm really waiting. Like I've really focused diligently on making sure all my cards are listed and available for purchase, ready to go, which is something I'm constantly working on, but I've been focusing more on that lately versus buying cards. And then you just got to be patient, man. It's challenging. I don't want to be patient, but I am waiting till the draft unfolds and some of these newer products come out. Like I want Prism and Select to take the limelight so I can go and start buying some rookie ticket autos of guys that I know
Yeah.
that it's going to, there's going to be some auctions that I think dip down throughout the summer when all this focus is on these new products and these new prospects.
I agree. And once again, we always say zig when everyone else zags. Look into other opportunities, other buying opportunities, right? What if there's some legendary player that you want a PC? Well, guess what? Drew Brees isn't in the limelight right now. Peyton Manning's not in the limelight. Maybe when people are, spending thousands on a Brandon Ingram card or a Wander Franco or whatever, that could be your golden opportunity to go get that John Elway you always wanted to look into. So that would be my thing. Don't just get so caught up in what everyone is trying to tell you to buy. Also, the second thing, Andy, prices are high. They just are. Now, once again, I got a lot going on in my life. I'm getting ready to go to England. Like my buying has slowed down because of my personal life factor. So we always say make sure you keep that in mind. We keep your life in order. But the second thing is prices are very high. They just are, right? And you got to be careful. Is it really worth going after a Javonte Williams card? You don't know what his role is going to be. I mean, he's going to be the RB1 in Denver, but what if they lose? It's nuts when you really think about it. So make sure you keep all of that in order, Andy.
Come
Because
on, man. Denver can't, but I know the AFC West is an absolute like nuclear Cold War right now. But I think we have to give the hobby out there a lot of credit because I think what you just said, Carter, holds a lot of weight. Pivoted zigging when other people are zagging and targeting vintage players right now. I've actually seen this on vintage card prices. Not, they look at all graded cards, not just vintage and modern and everything. And if you look at their top 25 for football in the last week, over half of the highest like growing football cards in the market are vintage cards. Believe it or not, I'm looking at an Earl Campbell PSA 8 rookie card up 156. The percent. The Troy Aikman rookie card up 128%. The Barry Sanders up 91%. So I'm seeing a lot of focus, like people actually shifting their interest right now to vintage. And I think we're seeing a lot of prices go up for vintage right now. It's like actually a pretty good market to sell some vintage cards if you're looking to sell some for profit as well.
my question for you, Andy, is you actually shared a stat with me beforehand. I would have never guessed Bernie Kosar's numbers have gone up. What was that? 6,600%?
Oh yeah, in the past month, right? So in the past month, and his card has seen the most growth out of football. Believe it or not, is Bernie Kosar, 1986 Bernie Kosar PSA 7 has gone up 568%. Now that tells
Bernie
you
Kosar. Huh?
568%, but that tells you two things. There probably has not been a transaction on his PSA 7 in quite some time. Like if I were to actually pull up this chart, it's probably been quite some time since there was a transaction on the 7. Plus, it's not for a whole lot of money. So yeah, like when you look at this, there was a transaction on 419 for $30 of his card, and they're tracking the percentage of growth, right? So the previous transaction for this card was $4.49. So, either somebody just wasn't comping, they just reached and they bought it for $30, which is still not a big investment. I think it just shows you that there is a volume behind these guys, and that people are, kind of shifting their interest right now because we're, in the type of time period we are around active players heading into the draft, that, focus has shifted to vintage cards in a lot of ways.
I also think, Andy, as far as like the vintage market is concerned, I just think people are tired of being confused with all the different releases, right? All the different zebra cut, prism, silver that's coated in rainbow unicorn juices. Like, I think people are just tired of all the different variations. Whereas to me, 1986 Tops is a very important set to me, right? Like, I mean, my Jerry Rice card is always going to sit up here. PSA 8. That set, I have the full set right up here. It means a lot to me, right? It just does. It reminds me a lot of, like the Jordan Fleer and those 80s sets. So there are some vintage nuts out there. Like, I like vintage football. Not my absolute favorite thing, but those cards are still iconic. And Andy, I think part of why people are doing that is because they're just tired of release calendars, and they're tired of all the printing that's being done right now.
Yeah, man, these guys' cards are locked in the stone. They're also hard to find in really good condition.
Yeah.
So this definitely places an emphasis on the graded variations, because that they're authentic, and then you can, kind of find them in those nice conditions. And if people are, honestly, I think the best time to buy vintage is when the football season kicks off, because everybody focuses and just flocks to the active NFL players, like in September. And I think that's the best time to buy vintage. So you can see prices are up on a lot of different Hall of Fame vintage players cards, from those really cool years. I love the design, and I think it's cool that Topps has brought back a lot of these designs in their modern sets and just put like a chrome finish on them. I kind of like it. Like, I have a 2013 DeAndre Hopkins rookie card that is from the 1986 set with a chrome finish. It's one of my favorite cards in my collection.
Yeah, I love that. I've kind of wanted to get my hands on some of those. I know exactly what you're talking about. Also, probably my favorite thing is and once again, I know we're nerding out over football cards. That's what it's for, baby. It's what we do. So, Andy, this. I went crazy when I saw the throwback 2021 rookie ticket autos from the Drew Brees class in this set. Man, I don't even like Mac Jones. And I thought about, obviously I'm not going to spend the thousands on that card, but goodness, it looks cool. It looks cool. So, you know me, Andy, I'm a big fan of any vintage kind of card. I'm more like 90s, 2000s kind of guy, but man, Aikman PSA 10. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's so cool, because on this site, you can go back for this card. For example, I go back all the way to 2006, 2007, when this PSA 10 Troy Aikman rookie card. This is the Tiffany Topps traded Tiffany from 1989, right? Yeah, and so you can go, and then it's like, wow, you get all the way up here to 2021, and you see this monster spike. This card actually got up to $600, like consistently there. February of 2021. So there's that Super Bowl hype cycle, and this is for Troy Aikman, just involved in the media coverage. But look at how this card stayed elevated throughout February, March 2021, incredibly hot, and it's kind of found this new normal here around $150. And it's more or less stayed around that price point. It's kind of dipped down. You can see where I was talking about there in August. It's kind of dipped down a few sales around 100. December dipped down to 90, and now right now it's back up. Someone has reached for it since just a couple weeks ago. Someone just reached for it on the 25th for $200, back up from 100. So
let's go.
There you go.
Man, I guess people, Andy, I guess people are happy about Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on ESPN. That might be it. But yeah, I'm very interested in vintage football, right? I'm as you know, Andy, I'm building my Drew Brees and Peyton Manning collection. It's my thing, man. I'm interested. I don't like. Look, we can get into speculation all the time, I think a lot of people are going to regret all the money they're spending on Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, right? Remember, some draft classes that go 1-2 a quarterback, both of them sometimes don't hit, right? Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota are perfect examples of this. So just be very careful because once again, that money that you're spending on Trevor Lawrence, where his best receiver next year is going to be overpaid Christian Kirk, could have gone to a Troy Aikman, could have gone to a Drew Brees. You don't know at this point if Troy Aikman's even going to be, or excuse me, if Trevor Lawrence is going to be even Bernie Kosar good. And I know that kind of takes the fun away because you want to speculate, you want to jump in. But at $800, really? Trey Lance, really? I mean, come on, let's be real here. So, Andy, it's just one of those things that a lot of buyers and collectors have to talk to themselves about.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta talk to yourself about. Be aware. You utilize your resources. Make sure you're doing comping and kind of forecasting. Think about the ripple effects. Think about the ripple effects of the draft and what that could have. And when it's like 10 different experts are mocking a certain position category to a specific team. Okay, I think that's pretty much a guarantee that that's the way they're going to go, and then you can kind of
Right.
plan accordingly. Like if you need to I just think it's important because we talk about these windows at times that you could potentially sell for decent profit. I mean, some of these windows never come back, right? The hype may be an all-time high right now for Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard.
I love that. I mean, look, I'm a Joe Burrow fan. I'm one of those guys though that did sell, a lot of his big burrows. I sold my biggest burrows, right? Because of what we talk about. Because I knew you, Andy, because we had this podcast going, because we look at this stuff every week. I knew that Super Bowl hype cycle was there. Now, do I think Joe Burrow is going to get back to a Super Bowl? Yeah, I think he's going to win multiple. But I do understand that football card prices, you rarely have major hype cycle windows such as this one. So once again, we neither one of us are in this for the money, right? But we know what hype cycles do. We know when the time to sell is. And a lot of people right now are happily buying football cards. They just are. Now, there are a bunch of people buying Brandon Ingram and Jason Tatum at really high prices right now and Wander Franco's and other sports. But that doesn't mean that all the markets aren't hot. And that's what I think right now. For me, Andy, hobby tip of the week. This is absolutely key. So I'm going to let you take the floor when it comes to actually buying cards and shipping information because it can get a little crazy sometimes.
Yeah, man, I just learned this lesson the hard way.
Woo.
On this Bowman U, man. I've been pumping it out. We've been promoting it, breaking this Bowman U box. I purchased it on April 5th. Was so excited about it. They got all kinds of really cool designs. Tops coming back. Bowman U, man, and the thing is, I purchased it on April 5th from eBay. It said the whole time is expected to arrive by April 27th. They made it seem like the latest it would get here is April 27th, Wednesday. Well, I had an oh shit moment yesterday thinking I need to reach out to this guy because I haven't gotten any notifications, any shipping information. Sure enough, I reach out to him and he's like, oh, it's Topps fault. They've delayed the release. We haven't got any shipping information yet, blah, blah, blah. So that's my hobby tip is like, don't plan a break or plan a party for Hobby Box or commit to any type of date until you actually get tracking information that it's on its way, regardless if they say expected or arriving by, because this didn't even say expected, it said arriving by April 27th. Do not trust that at all from any car distributor, in my opinion, because these manufacturers can change the dates in a moment's notice anywhere. And that's my tip. That's where I'm at.
So there's etiquette when it comes to this, Andy. You did everything you should have. Once again, though, obviously a lot of it depends on the price. So if somebody's shipping you a card that you got for $3, yes, they should ship it well, but you shouldn't hound them for like shipping information or all that stuff. But this has always been my rule of thumb. If you're buying a card for triple digits or more, any card $100 or more, you should be on top of getting your shipping information. The seller should give you a tracking number and they should keep you up to date with everything that's happening. And Andy, you as a buyer are well within your rights to ask about the shipping information, right?
Yeah, they should have. And honestly, I mean, in hindsight, I think they, as the seller, should have notified me the moment that they realized it wasn't going to arrive at my house by April 27th.
Right.
I think, and yeah, I should have reached out to them sooner, but they should have also like been more proactive. And as soon as they realized it was going to be delayed, they had committed to all these people, because I'm not the only one who bought a hobby box from them. You know that. They should have been messaging them and telling them, hey, this has been delayed. It's not going to become April 27th. I'm sure, many of them are buying them for personal consumption. They're not like committing to an actual live stream and a live break like I am, So they probably didn't realize that, but they should be aware. I think it's definitely a two-way street. We both got to do our part in terms of buyers and sellers, just trying to always be prompt in communication and forthright in that.
Yeah, so for me personally, I didn't even tell you this. I waited until the episode. A group submission to PSA that I think I put in about a year and a half. It was one of those big group submissions. I finally got information that the card is great and finally being sent to me a year and a half ago.
A year and a half?
A year and a half. It seems like it was a year and a half. I just kind of forgot about the card. But it was a Tyrann Mathieu autograph card, and that is my PC. And I wanted it graded by PSA. And it wasn't the group submitter's fault. He did a good job keeping me up to date with everything. And I just got the message yesterday. I just forgotten about it because my Tyrann Mathieu card collection has just grown so much, right? So, as far as like shipping information and group submissions and all of that, always understand that there could be delays. And in the card industry itself, delays happen a lot whenever you buy, whenever you submit. So just because you go on PSA and it says it's turnaround in 90 days, it's not guaranteed. Sometimes it may be sooner. That's a unicorn. More often than not, it's going to be later. And that's why, you get into, and Andy, you've done a good job doing breakdowns of submission services. We talked about it in the last podcast. If you are interested, the card industry, and this is why we always say, go to shows, go to hobby shops, because, when you buy the card, you actually get it right then and there because, they're handing it to you. Whenever they're shipping, Andy, there's always a major leap of faith that comes along with it.
Very, very much so. I mean, you can run the risk of shipping without tracking for $1.50, but should you do that? No, I don't think so. I've had, I've done a lot of plain white envelope shipping on cards valued under $20 in the past several months. I would say I've probably done 20 to 30 shipments that way. And only 2 of them have come back as they haven't received it. And one of them, the post office said it was delivered. So I'm not sure what the case is there. Like I guess he's working on a refund with eBay, but it's one of those things where I think it's a pretty safe shipping method. And I think it's always important to have tracking. Like if you don't have tracking, then you're pretty much dead in the water. And it's anything could happen to it. And you got to have some way to kind of cover your butt.
Right. A few things as far as like big cards on like PayPal and stuff like that, get the good and services protection all the time. Now, if I'm buying a card from Andy, I talk to Andy every day. We're obviously really close friends. No big deal. But if you just randomly meet somebody and you talk to them for months at a time, whatever, still get the good and services protection, right? That just covers everybody to a certain extent. Always do that. I know a lot of people like friends and family because it does cut off a little bit, but just do that for everyone's sake. And then something else, Andy, and this is obviously a very macro issue. There is a lot of theft going on in the hobby from the postal services themselves, right? And it's absolutely insane. Now, that is extremely rare, but something I saw that was very interesting, I think it was Sports Card Anonymous, I don't remember. They said don't have your name on the like actual package as so and so sports cards, because that way the person, since there has been so much theft with that, they'll slice it open because they know there's a sports card in there, and it's hard to track sports cards, especially if they're raw. So, that's something else. Andy, this is something I've seen a lot of as well. People doing the bait and switch, right? With a raw card. Like, let's say like you have a Justin Herbert card and it's scratched and it's like a Prism Silver rookie. Well, someone sends you one, you replace it with your scratch one, and all you say is, well, the mail service scratched this card. That happens a lot more than than we would probably think it does. So, Andy, there's just so much variance when it comes to mailing actual product. It could be a nightmare. It really can.
Really can, man. But you get your tracking. If it's a more expensive card, but you pay up for the insurance, give you a little bit more peace of mind. So that way, even if it does get lost, someone steals it, what have you, then you have some type of recourse. You can, follow up with the post office. You purchase that insurance, then you follow the steps and get your money back at least. And it's unfortunate because the card itself could be very rare and irreplaceable. So it's one of those things you just gotta. There is a risk involved, and 9 times out of 10, I think you'll be okay. But if it's a $500 card, something like that, I think it's smart to pay up for the insurance. Just don't take the chance.
Yeah, so comment down below on this video, or if you're listening to this on a podcast, give us your shipping tips and tricks and all that good stuff. We always love to hear back from you. And that's why, Andy, it's very important for people to go to patreon.com/footballcards. Join our growing fantasy football card quest network, where there's plenty of collectors and investors in there that have been in the game longer than you and I, Andy, who know everything there is to know about card collecting, and will happily help you if you have any questions. It's well worth it to be a part of it. Now, as we do at the end of every episode, Andy, it is time for Play of the Week. So, do you want to go first, or do I go first?
Well, I know you had last week. You teed it up as a couple wide receivers that you were advocating for for people to sell, and I know you've got a couple plays as well. So I'll let you go first. I've got an interesting one for you as well.
All right, so I'm gonna go very quick here. All right. So last week, Andy, once again, I mean, your channel is just second to none when it comes to football cards. I understand it could be overwhelming, but it's very important to think about this on a macro scale as well. Who's a bad football team? The Detroit Lions. Who was a player that had a lot of hype on the Detroit Lions last year? Well, it was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, Andy, let me ask you this question. Just give a simple yes or no right here. Are the Lions going to win next year? Yes or no?
Are they going to win?
Are they going to be a winning team next year?
Oh, I would say they're under 500.
Right.
Record.
So Amon-Ra is on a bad team. Okay. Second question for you, Andy, is who's the Lions quarterback?
That's Jared Goff.
Oh, yeah. Just the worst quarterback in the NFC. Very inaccurate thrower. Play calling situation, not the best. And also the Lions are not rumored to take a quarterback. Now, I would like Amon-Ra St. Brown a little bit more if the Lions selected Malik Willis, because then the prices of Amon-Ra St. Brown cards are going to go even higher than what they're going for right now. Amon-Ra St. Brown went to a very prestigious university, okay, USC. He's got a very freaking awesome name, okay? He plays a very exciting brand of football. He's a fun player to watch, and he won a lot of people their fantasy leagues towards the end of the season. So all the hype is surrounding this guy. He's a sell for me. This is going to be a bad football team. I don't think the Lions are going to select a quarterback because they're a horrible franchise. Sell him right now. I don't believe in him long term. He's not Justin Jefferson good. He's not one of these Jamar Chase elite wide receivers. Well, that's your LSU bias. Okay, he's not Jalen Waddle. He's not anyone, right? He is a slightly better Hunter Renfrow. for me. So sell him right now if you can. The second one I would sell right now is Jerry Jeudy. Now, this is someone that we've talked a lot about on this channel, Andy, and you have sold a lot of Jerry Jeudy. I have sold a lot of Jerry Jeudy, and both of us were able to buy them at very cheap prices because you and I both thought that Denver was going to get a big time quarterback, which they did. Sell it now. Enjoy this hype cycle while it lasts. Okay. I think Jerry Jeudy's a slot receiver in this formation. Russell Wilson doesn't throw over the middle of the field. Okay. I think Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton are going to be the outside receivers in that offense. Now, can Jerry Jeudy get vertical? Yeah, he can get vertical. Yes, he can catch deep passes. I'm just not as big of a believer on Jerry Jeudy coming out as I was from the start. I say sell him now. I've sold a lot of Jerry Jeudy. You have as well, Andy. So those would be the two players I would sell. That would be my play of the week right now. Obviously, buying right now, Andy, we've touched on this a little bit earlier. It's been tough for both of us, right? Because prices are, a little bit higher. And once again, I have a big life thing coming up with this big trip over the next couple of weeks. So I've been a little bit more cognizant of my money. But one player who I think is going to go to the moon and will be a future multiple-year Pro Bowl wide receiver is Treylon Burks coming out of Arkansas. We're talking about an elite athlete. Ran over 22 miles per hour on the field last year versus Alabama. Yes, his 40-yard dash time wasn't the best. Who cares? A lot of the best wide receivers in the NFL, Andy, actually ran a time between 4.5 and 4.6 at the combine. Michael Thomas, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp. Treylon Burks actually reaches top speed over 22 miles per hour, which is really rare. He is a superb athlete, 10.5-inch hands. Really? He's got to wear 4XL gloves, Andy. 4XL. He is an absolutely freak of a beast of an animal athlete. Now, look, I grew up in Arkansas, right? Treylon Burks, also from Arkansas. He used to hunt hogs with his bare hands. I think he still does. He is a freak. Now, why do I like Treylon Burks so much, Andy? Early production score, all that good stuff, breakout age. We can get into those nerdy analytics stuff. I'm a nerd. I like the stuff. But the bottom line is people are going to love him. They just are. Because the likelihood of him being the first receiver selected in this draft, Andy, is little. He is probably going to go to a team in the back end of the first round, and that team is probably going to have a good quarterback, okay? So, I know I've gone on a little bit here. I know Treylon Burks' pro uniform stuff's not going to be released in a while, but his college uniform stuff, I think he's going to be a star right out the gates, especially if he goes to a good team. Arkansas doesn't have a lot of stars. They don't. It's a program, though, that has the most rabid fan base that you will ever see. So, Treylon Burks in an Arkansas uniform, if I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm going to be like, oh, crap. Well, I want to go get his football cards. What do I want to do? Well, they're not going to mind spending a little bit extra on a college uniform card, even though we both know long-term that's not the absolute best. So if I can get some Treylon Burks college uniform cards, if he goes to a really good team in the back end of the first round, I'm buying those things in mass and selling them before his pro uniform stuff goes out. So Treylon Burks to me is by far the best receiver in this draft. I'm shocked that he is all the way down to like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. Man, I'm just a big believer in what this guy's going to do at the next level. So, Andy, I'm sorry I went on for a while, but I'm very passionate about all three of those plays.
No, I love it, man. I think it's because the NFL historically has put so much value on straight line speed. Look at Henry Ruggs and John Ross and all these guys that have been drafted super early because of their straight line speed. And I think that's the same thing you see, and the helmet, right? So that's the same thing that you kind of seen with Jameson Williams and Chris Olave and stuff. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing. But what Treylon Burks is still being mocked at the end of the first round, right there where the Green Bay Packers have 2 picks, man. So can you imagine if Treylon goes to Green Bay? I think you see an immediate stock increase in Aaron Rodgers. I think we're going to see that. And then we're going to see those Sammy Watkins cards and Allen Lazard go down a little bit. I love the projection, man. This guy, just looking at his profile, 32% college target share. Just dominant at Arkansas, man. That's awesome. I'm really excited about him. I think, a guy that I'm tempted to buy into right now before the draft. If I had a little bit more budget, if I didn't spend it all in a Bowman hobby box that is not coming by Wednesday, I would take that same money and look at buying a rookie ticket auto, Zach Wilson. Now I know that. Yeah, so I know a lot of people are going to be thinking, yeah, but I don't know about that one, right? He struggled a lot coming last year. However, if you look at his statistics around when he played against man coverage, he was a QB1 in man coverage ranking, like in terms of how he played against man coverage. So that's some upside. Plus, the Jets have 2 picks. They actually have 4 picks in the first round, but they have 2 picks close to the front of the first round, and they're all mocked to take a wide receiver as well. And you've got Drake London sitting there from USC, 6'4", 213, an incredible draft prospect from USC, very dominant as well, 27% college target share, broke out at 18 years old, like really good prospect, right? And so he's sitting there. So the Jets could take him. They could take Garrett Wilson. They could take Treylon Burks. They could take these, any of these elite wide receivers. The Jets have also been linked to trying to trade for guys like DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel. They've been in the conversation for getting an elite receiver because Corey Davis has, kind of not lived up to his draft pedigree and his expectations. And Elijah Moore is great, but he's only one guy, right? Denzel Mims is totally flamed out so far in his NFL career. And I think that they're definitely going to add depth, elite depth to their wide receivers. And they've got draft capital to improve the offensive line as well, man. So I think they double dip on the offense and improving the offense there in the first round. And one of those guys, offensive lineman, wide receiver, that's got to lead to a lot of hype for Zach Wilson. I mean, this is his second year. There's a ton of room for improvement. They also have one of the largest market sizes, fan bases in the NFL, so it's very easy for him to get hyped up. They get tons of media scrutiny and media focus. You're talking about leading up into training camp, and you look at Zach Wilson, he's got the cheapest rookie ticket auto out of Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, and Trey Lance. So, you can get a rookie ticket auto of him right now for about $350, whereas you look at the Mac Jones is $650. The Trey Lance is around $650. The Justin Fields is around $650. And believe it or not, Trevor Lawrence is now in the lead with around $1,000 for his rookie ticket auto.
And it's what I love about you, right? Wait, did you hear the lawn guy right there? Could you hear that? Okay, good. There's a guy just mowing lawn right outside my window, like full speed.
I talked right over him.
Yeah, no. I don't know if anyone else heard it because that's what he thought about that Zach Wilson take. Because it's trash. No, I'm just kidding. Look, you make a really good point about the price. So I just looked at it just to confirm it because I thought his prices were a little bit lower. I didn't know they were that low. I thought he was trending in the 500, 600s. Once again, there's so many different variations. There was one Zach Wilson clear rookie ticket auto out of 10 that sold for $2K. Once again, so that's why it's very important. Not all rookie ticket autos are made equal. So, the number ones are always going to go for a lot more. One thing I like about you, Andy, is you're really good at reading the hype. And I know we use that word a lot, right? You remember before the season began when Tony Romo said Zach Wilson, I don't remember the exact quote, right?
Oh, yeah, man. Tony Romo comped his arm to, who did he comp his arm to? It was somebody
I think he said Aaron. I think that's what it was. That's
football. He comped his arm to somebody elite, like a Hall of Fame quarterback level.
Yeah, in other words, Tony Romo, he hyped him up as much as you possibly could. And that quote from Tony Romo actually took over everything. It kind of became, because once again, Zach Wilson's in New York. The Jets are looking for their savior. And let's just say they do draft Drake London. And let's just say Zach Wilson hits Drake London in a practice on a jump ball. Remember, preseason hype cycle is where it's at. Could you imagine what Zach Wilson cards would have done last year during if there were rookie ticket autos and Tony Romo said that same quote? Who's to say Tony Romo doesn't double down on Florio show or whichever show and does the same thing? His cards are going to go through the roof. So
Mhm.
I kind of like that if you want to speculate the market, even if you don't think Zach Wilson is going to turn out to be great, because football card prices don't always correlate with how good you are on the field. Sometimes you just got to take advantage of the preseason hype cycle. So Wilson being
Yeah.
in New York, a lot of draft capital. I like it, Andy. I really do.
Yeah, and what if the Jets pull the Patriots week one? The Patriots secondary is not what it used to be. They lost J.C. Jackson. They lost Stephon Gilmore's. The Patriots secondary is not what it used to be. What if Zach Wilson lights them up 4 touchdowns? They win. They beat the Patriots week one. I mean, you're gonna 3x your money on this card, and is what I'm thinking.
Or
So
or if the Jets get Debo.
or the Jets get Debo. So another, or if somehow Seattle decides, you know what, we are going to tear down, they trade DK to the Jets. Something like that happens. I could see a couple of those scenarios unfold to where the Jets just dramatically get a makeover on their offense, like an upgrade. And we've got this, like, all right, second year, worked out the wiggles in year one. Zach, it's time to get the business, and his draft stock is going to go up in terms of like his average draft position in fantasy drafts is going to go up leading into September. So people are going to be getting excited about him. Plus, he's going to get all the early news coverage being in New York. He's going to get all that early media coverage because I know the Giants get that as well. And I don't foresee them making a change at quarterback. It looks like it's going to be Daniel Jones there for, what he's going into his third year, right? Third or fourth year as a 2019 rookie. So, I think all the hype is going to be around Zach Wilson. And so, hey, I think it's a pretty safe move, honestly, looking at the prices.
Ooh, safe. I like that, man. Well, Andy,
Yeah,
this was a fun one, man. I feel like we're getting our groove. I feel like we're getting better each and every week. That's why we need you to subscribe, 5-star review, all that good stuff. It goes a long way helping out growing the show. But this is going to be interesting, Andy. We do want to let our listeners know that I will be gone. I'm going to England once again for the next few weeks. So the show will go on. We are more invested in you than ourselves because we want to grow football cards and the show into a major football card community. We are a very rare species, our football card focused group out there. So once again, over the next couple of months leading into the next season, we're going to talk about focusing just on football cards or growing into other sports. We got a lot of good stuff coming up, Andy. So I'm glad we're growing. I'm glad we're doing some special things here. I really feel it, baby. I feel it in my system. The future of football cards is going to be grand. Let's go.
That's right. Let's go. Now, we're not going to Willie Pips you, man. We're not going to Willie Pips you. We're looking forward when you get back.
Yeah, well, I told you the story of Wally Pip. It's
Wally Pip.
Wally Pip. I don't want to get Wally Pip because you're going to have some wonderful guests to fill in over the next few weeks. So really excited about that. And we'll talk to you soon, baby. Let's go.
Let's go. Boom. See you guys.